There are lots of things you can spend your tax refund on, but one thing you don't have to spend it on, a new smartphone. Switch to Metro PCS now and get not one, but 2 free 4G LTE smartphones for brands like Samsung and LG. Plus, you're on T-Mobile's blazing fast nationwide 4G LTE network. Hurry! Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free smartphones after instant rebate. One heck of a deal, only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr.C.J. Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr.C.J. Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. Follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr.C.J. Sports. The 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com, or also check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Pulling double duty tonight. Yeah, well, actually, we're trying to pull triple duty here tonight. We're in the studio. We got the second of the Can-Am dual races for the Daytona 500 going on right now. And trying to flip back and forth to keep up with the Chicago and Cleveland Cavalier game tonight. Got a lot going on here. For those that missed the first race of the Can-Am, you had Dale Earnhardt Jr. winning the first dual race with, it was an interesting race. It was a lot better than what I thought. I think I would enjoy the second one a lot more. Now that I got DW and Jeff Gordon muted, I don't have to listen to these two guys talk. I still can't get past having them two on the show at the same time. I can hardly handle one at a time, but having both of them, I not getting it. Looks like the 3 Joe Gibbs racing cars are hooked up right now. They 1, 2, 3 in the second duel. So I'll definitely keep you guys up to date on that. But Dale Jr. wins the first duel. A lot of dice. It was dice. It was fun to watch. Ryan Blaney, I think, got 4th. I'm looking all that up right now, but I think it was 4th that I've seen him get. Impressed. Blaney, I wasn't so impressed with Chase Elliott. It just seemed that it was a little bit more than he was ready to handle out there. I don't know. I know it's not the first time he's been out there on the track. I know that he ran a few select races last year. And so I know he's been out there, but I just wasn't really that impressed with what I've seen out of Chase Elliott. I don't know if it was because it was Daytona. I don't know because of the pressure. I'm not quite understanding why. I just know that I was not impressed. Needless to say. Oh, goodness. And second duel, like another way. First duel race, you had Dale Jr. get first, obviously won the first duel. Joe Logano, very strong. Very impressed. A 4th tire stop. Everybody else did just go and go. to make it to the end of the race, and since you pretty much had to stay the same amount of time doing 4 tires and fuel versus just getting fuel, Joey Logano went ahead and gambled on getting 4 tires. Cost him a little bit up front, but finished second. I think him and Blaney would have had enough time to really kind of get the feel of each other and strategize how to properly draft. I just don't think they ever really got connected like they needed to. I think Logano's car was probably stronger. Denny Hamlin took 5th, and I'll say 3rd and 4th here in a second. Hamlin's car was very impressive, too. Very, very impressive. Blaney got 3rd, Harvick got 4th. Chase Elliott did end up finishing 6th. Casey King 7th. Greg Biffle 8th. How about Chris Buescher finishing 9th? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wrapping out your top 10. Witt was left packing home. You had Ryan Blaney drive his way in, Michael McDowell get in on speed, and of course Brian Scott was already locked in as being the second barter car for Richter Petty Motorsports. So up and down the charts, Paul Menard ended up having something, tire rub. He had a very strong car. He ended up having a tire issue, a tire rub. So that obviously put him back there at the rear. Outside of that, he was rather impressive this first dual race. And we got 2 big groups here in the second dual race. Rather interesting. We're dying to see how that ends up perspiring for the second group here. Like I said, double duty. I got to keep my eyes away from the Cleveland Cavaliers score. I would like to be able to sit after the show and after in the second dual race will be done before midway through the show. But I like to be able to, after the show, be able to catch the Cleveland Cavalier game and not know who won. And Chicago's beat them 2 games done so far this season. So I would like to see Cleveland at home be able to pull one out. So trying not to get my wandering eyes to land on some NBA. So definitely gonna try my hardest, and I really need to take my Facebook off, so that way there's no possibilities of the score popping up anywhere. There's some stories that we shared over on the 110 Nation Sports fan page that I want to talk about tonight anyway. But NBA trade deadline, so they got very, very, very active. Still not any moves that really I felt that was going to be enough to play into a factor when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers, the San Antonio Spurs, or the Golden State Warriors. And I said that was, if I'm an NBA general manager and knowing that coaches are being fired for not able to beat these teams. David Blatt, prime example, 6 games last year's finals before they lost to the Golden State, with 2 of their 3 big men gone, placed in the Eastern Conference with injuries. I mean, Kyrie Irving had only been back a few games before the All-Star break. I mean, well, I'm going to say more than a few games, but he was out a good portion of the first half of the season, and yet they were still in first place. And players being traded, and players being benched, and coaches being fired. I'm fearing for my position. I don't care if I'm the general manager. I don't care if I'm the coach. I'm the assistant coach. As we watched the Clippers, or not the Clippers, but Sacramento Kings assistant coach get fired. Even to these players that found themselves getting traded, nobody's secure right now. And if I'm in charge of a team, my priority is We got to have a team that, if we're in the Eastern Conference, can beat Cleveland to get us into the NBA Finals, and that everybody's project should be, we need a team that can beat the Golden State Warriors, or we need a team that can beat the San Antonio Spurs. And I have yet to see any of these pieces, any of these moves that happen, and we're going to talk about them, that shows that there's any team out there that is put themselves in that position to be able to overcome what needs to be overcome. And so I know that a lot of these moves had to do with freeing up cap space and securing draft picks. I understand what a lot of these draft picks were, or a lot of these trades were, because there was not a lot of talent moving around. There was not a lot of impactful moves. So I'm well aware what the most of these projects were about. But seeing how this season has gone and seeing how the player or coaches and assistant coaches are being fired and players are being traded, I'm going all in. I'm trying to make sure that I do whatever I can to be able to secure my job, to ensure myself be able to go into the next season, or try to secure my job as much as possible to know I'm even going to make it to the end of the season. I think the firing of David Blatt showed us that there's no job in the NBA secured, no matter who you are. It don't matter if you took your team to the NBA Finals and went 6 games with the team that is still the best team in the NBA. It don't matter if you're the best team in the Eastern Conference. No job is secure, and I'm sorry, but that's what I'm going. I'm going for blockbuster move. I am figuring out what I need and what all I can get rid of to make what I need possible. The Orlando Magic traded Tobias Harris to the Detroit Pistons for Brandon Jennings and Ersan Ilyasova. And I think I checked that up even yesterday too. Obviously, a good move for the Pistons. Is this move adding Harris to 90 seconds? Wow, I didn't set up for 2 hours. Wow, let's fix that real quick. Thank you, lady in my ear, for telling me this. There we go. Much better. But I understand that this is a good move for Detroit. It helps bring a little more stability to this team, and it improves this team a little bit. But it's not going to change. It's not even going to put them in the top 3. I mean, right now you're looking at Cleveland, Toronto, and Indiana. I would still put Miami over top of Detroit. I mean, yeah, you freed up a little bit, but you didn't do nothing to be that impactful. The Memphis Grizzlies traded Courtney Lee to the Charlotte Hornets in a 3-team deal that sent P.J. Harrison, Chris Anderson, and 4 second-round picks to each from the Hornets and Miami to Grizzlies. The Heat received Brian Roberts. It's like to the Hornets in a 3-team deal that sent P.J. Harrison, Chris Anderson, and 4 second-round picks, 2 each from the Hornets and Miami. So Memphis gets 4 second-round picks. So Courtney, I want to make sure I get this all right. The wording of this is rather difficult. But the Memphis Grizzlies trade off Courtney Lee. Hornets end up with Courtney Lee. That sent P.J. Harrison and Chris Anderson and 4 second-round picks to the Hornets and Miami. So I'm assuming that obviously Anderson left, so he had to go to the Hornets. But either way, it okay, now Okay, the Memphis Grizzlies give up Courtney Lee to Charlotte, and they get P.J. Harrison and Chris Anderson and 2 draft picks from Hornets and 2 draft picks for the Heat, and the Heat received Brian Roberts. That's a lot. I couldn't imagine being the person that wrote up that paperwork, and the person that called it into the NBA to make this this trade be even possible. So the Memphis Grizzlies, Courtney Lee, in return they're getting P.J. Harrison, Chris Anderson, 2 second-round picks from the Hornets and 2 second-round picks from the Heat, while the Charlotte Hornets will get Courtney Lee and the Heat will get Brian Roberts, is what that just broke down to. All that jibber-jabber, and that's what it broke down to. Like I said, once again, a lot of people, I like the fact that the Charlotte Hornets picked up Courtney Lee. I think that moves Charlotte up from being an eight-seeded team, roughly, in most people's eyes, to now maybe a 5th, 6th seed. You add a little bit there with Courtney Lee to your team. So, I like the move for Charlotte, but once again, you're still sitting like 5th, 6th best in the Eastern Conference, and honestly, it didn't really do much for you this season, and there's no guarantee that all those pieces are going to be there next year, or to include the coaching staff, because how many seasons are you going to handle not being a team that's in serious contention? And you could keep sidestepping it, said if you're not making those moves, that it's going to, especially in the Eastern Conference, that's going to even give you an opportunity to be in the finals. If you can't, if you're in the Eastern Conference, and I know everybody's goal is to take down Charlotte, 8th-seeded team right now, the 8th best team in the Eastern Conference. With that move, honestly, I don't even know if that even moves them up any. Maybe, no. The 7 teams better than them are all pretty stout teams. Cleveland, Toronto, Boston, Atlanta, Miami, Indiana, Chicago. The only thing they did was really help better themselves to just kind of stay better than Detroit. Detroit, the ninth best team in the Eastern Conference. I think on our team the score 48-42. Chicago or Cleveland's up at the half. But these moves are. This is what's aggravating to me, because I know that the building process, and this is something that could take a couple of years, and these moves, obviously, the Harris move to Detroit, Courtney Lee to the Charlotte, all that does is help you continue to get better. Don't get me wrong, and you keep adding the right pieces. Detroit and Charlotte will keep getting better, and will be contention teams. But is there enough time for that to happen before people lose their jobs? And that's my biggest thing with this right now. Still, I'm sorry, but the David Blatt firing that would have me on pins and needles. Chicago Bulls traded Kirk Henrich to the Atlanta Hawks. I like that move. It's opened up the outside a little bit more, and it helps spread that defense a little bit more. I like that. In a 3-team deal that sends Sheldon Mack to the Utah Jazz and Justin Holiday to the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls also received a future second-round pick from the Jazz. To me, the biggest loser is the Chicago Bulls in this. You gave up Henrich. It's been a critical piece in your team right now, especially with and I can picture Butler, Jimmy Butler being down, and the inconsistency of Derrick Rose and how he's playing and his injuries. That was a critical piece to what you're doing right now. And you gave that up for Justin Holiday and a future second-round pick. It's like you're saying, okay, Butler's out. We're sitting 7th, There's sixth, seventh in the standing, seventh. We're throwing in we're going for next year. We're going to see what we can do building forward and how we can continue to make this team better. And instead of making a move that is going to improve you now, that's what I'm looking at it. The Miami Heat traded Jarnell Stokes to the New Orleans Pelicans for a future second-round draft pick. Obviously, Miami, obviously New Orleans needed the piece, and Miami was just more into getting rid of that salary caps, and for the additional pieces that they got in the earlier trade, but also to start working on what are the pieces you could get, or making sure that you're within your salary cap. The Orlando Magic traded Channing Frye to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a 3-team deal that sent Anderson Varejao to the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers received a conditional 2018 first-round pick from the Cavs. The Magic received Jared Cunningham for a second-round pick. It just seems like Cleveland gave up a lot. They gave up for Channing Frye. They gave up Anderson Varejao, who's been with Cleveland for 10 years now. Gave up him and a 2018 first-round pick, and they give up Jared Cunningham and a second-round pick, all for Channing Frye. I'm sorry, but I never remember being overwhelmed with a bunch of Channing Frye highlights on ESPN or NBA TV or TNT. I know Channing Frye is a big man and a great outside shooter, but to give up Jared Cunningham, who to me showed a lot of potential of, being that eventually second or even a more consistent third rotation at the point guard, and Anderson Varejao, one of the guys that helps you clean up the paint. And then a first round. You already gave up a lot of first rounds to get the team that you got. Giving up Andrew Wiggins, giving up Anthony Bennett, giving up Jan Waiters. John Waiters. They've already given up a lot of top picks, and then now you give up another first rounder and a second rounder. I don't know. That just seems like an awful lot to be given up when it comes to just to get Channing Frye. The Houston Rockets traded DeDontis Montejunas and Marcus Thornton to the Detroit Pistons for a 2016 first-round pick, protected numbers 1 through 8, and Joel Anthony. It seems that Detroit is really trying to construct themselves a team, and still not pieces that I feel that Detroit. I think that they need more impact with it, just like you're adding a bunch of role players, really. The Heat traded Brian Roberts. I think got Brian Roberts earlier in the day, or earlier in the trade period here. They traded Brian Roberts and a future second-round pick to the Trailblazers for cash consideration. Obviously, just freeing up cap. And the Phoenix Suns traded Markieff Morris. They finally found somebody to take him. Finally, he's no longer their problem. To the Washington Wizards for DeJounte Blair, Chris Humphries, and a protected first-round pick. And it's really a shame that that's all you could get for Markieff. It's so disappointing that he ruined his value so much that is all you could get for Morris. It's really bad, and I don't know. I feel I feel really bad for Phoenix that things have just the circus show has gotten to be so bad. I just in Phoenix and I you can't do nothing but feel bad for this franchise. I mean, yes, a lot of it's got to do with they let the circus show get there. But the other part is you just feel bad because you would think that everybody would be able to handle being a professional. And unfortunately, that is not the case. And unfortunately, now this piece that should have been much more marketable and should have been much more value to this team, now this is what they get. The Denver Nuggets traded Randy Foye to the Oklahoma City Thunder for DJ Augustin, Steve Novick, and 2 second-round picks. Obviously, Oklahoma City, as they get ready to prepare themselves for next season, they obviously know that they need money if they're going to keep both their stars. So obviously, that's more of let's dump some salary cap out of the way. And the Clippers traded Lance Stevenson and a protected 2019 first-round pick to the Memphis Grizzlies for Jeff Green. Good move for the Clippers. I wouldn't necessarily say such a great move for the Memphis Grizzlies. It's a great move for the Clippers, not a great move for the Grizzlies. Lance Stevenson, I don't think anybody's really taken Lance Stevenson serious since the whole ear-blowing incident. I think at this point more people mock Lance Stevenson than they even acknowledge him being a basketball player. And the Rockets traded Joel Anthony to the Philadelphia 76ers for a future second-round pick. So those all the, like I said, it just wasn't a lot. And it honestly is disappointing because I'm wanting to see this be more than just a two-horse race in the Western Conference and a runaway horse in the Eastern Conference. I was hoping that we would see, some teams emerge and some teams do some really good things, and that's not what happened. Indianapolis Colts and the Green Bay Packers to play in 2016 NFL Hall of Fame game. Reports are Aaron Rodgers is not too thrilled with that. But, yes, Hall of Fame game. Indianapolis Colts and the Green Bay Packers. Ought to be a good game. I don't know. I'm still on board with the whole let's just have 2 preseason games. I really see no point of playing 4 games. I mean, you figure the first game you're probably going to see a quarter out of your starters. The second game, it might go to halftime before they pull their starters. The third game, you're looking at maybe a quarter. And then the fourth game, maybe a series, maybe 2, and that's it. You're looking in 16 possible quarters. You're looking at 4 quarters, 4 and 4 quarters. That's honestly about all you're getting. Why not eliminate 2 games so you can have your starters come in and play like a quarter one game and a half the other game, and they're done? I'm sorry, but there's no way you can convince me that from film read and from the 2 preseason games that you play and all the practices that you've had that you really need 2 more additional games to determine which of the players you drafted and which of the players have walked on and which of the players you've acquired in trade that you're not going to keep. You already have an idea by 2 games of preseason and everything else. There's no way you can convince me that you need 4 games to decide who you're going to keep and who you're not going to. Why not open this up? Could you imagine as tight as this race was going into the final week this year, where we didn't know if it was going to be Indianapolis or Houston that was going to take the AFC South? You didn't know if it was going to be was it Kansas City or Denver who was going to take it, if I'm not mistaken. Now, maybe it wasn't. Maybe they wouldn't see that factor. I know that first, second, third wasn't decided. It could have been Indianapolis, Cincinnati, or Denver. And then on the West, I forget what the scenario was, but there were scenarios likewise that almost every playoff game had some kind of implication. Could you imagine that dragging on for 2 more weeks? Could you imagine that build-up, that excitement? And we know that we got a couple extra weeks for all that build-up. Yeah, I understand that some years we're still going to be locked up at week 16 or week 15, and the last 2 or 3 weeks may not mean much to, teams. But 9 times out of 10, we're going to have 2 extra weeks to build up, and we eliminate 2 games. That ticket play that fans got to pay the same price to go watch. Well, we're not seeing what we want to come see. The games are so horrible, they don't even play them on most of them on TV. That you got to catch them on NFL Network to get a replay on it. It honestly and truly is really a waste of time. I really wish that don't even get me started what I wish when it comes to the NFL. Other than I wish they would go back to allowing defenses to actually play the game and to making quarterbacks actually have to be quarterbacks instead of not guide themselves through the rules. But something else I honestly wish that the NFL would do was find a way to us have the best 2 teams possible in the Super Bowl. Granted, a lot of times it all lines up and we have pretty good Super Bowls. To me, we've had too many lopsided Super Bowls and too many Super Bowls we knew who was going to win, and the score might not have shown how lopsided it was, but it was still lopsided. I wish that the NFL could come up with some kind of system. I don't want it to be who got through the system on the NFC side and who got through the system on the AFC side the best. And there's been years it's not even been the best NFC team or the best AFC team that's made it. It's just the path that was traveled, and who got lucky and who played who. I want it to be the best 2 teams. And I wish that there was a way that they had some kind of poll ranking system, however you want to word it, that gives us the best opportunity to have the best 2 teams. Plus, I mean, who wouldn't want to see a Dallas Cowboys and a 49ers Super Bowl? I mean, how historic? I mean, that one. Could you imagine? And we're deprived of that because of how the current playoff Super Bowl system is. And I think that's worth being deprived. But could you imagine the days when Rex Ryan was in the Jets and the Jets were winning the AFC East? And could you imagine when we had them and the Patriots, the 2 best teams in the AFC, and they end up being the 2 teams in the Super Bowl? Or I'm trying to think some other couple great matchups that we didn't necessarily. Back when Seattle and San Francisco, I think both of them won at least like 11-5 or 12-4, whatever the case was, and they honestly were the best 2 teams. And it didn't have to be the 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens. Could you imagine what it would have been like to have a Seattle 49ers Super Bowl as well? I don't know. There are just certain matchups, especially when those two teams were in their prime, and they were the best two teams in the NFL. Not just the best two teams in the AFC or the best two teams in the NFC, but the best two teams in the entire NFL, period. I couldn't imagine how great that would be to see. And then when you got some of these teams that have two teams that are in the same conference, I'm getting, oh my Lord, could you imagine ever come down to a Cleveland Cincinnati Super Bowl? How funny that would be. I don't know. I'm a firm believer in, and that's why I don't like this whole charter system when it comes to NASCAR. I want to have the best of the best out there. I don't want to have some system set up that, okay, we get the best of the AFC and potentially the best of the NFC, or, you know, or we got 36 cars that have paid for their spots, and the only other four got to work their ways in, and that's, you know, regardless if there's six guys better than the 36 that bought their way in. I mean, I don't want that. To me, you might as well just be handing out participation trophies everywhere now. I want, if I'm going to sit there and invest my money, if I'm going to invest my time, if I'm going to dedicate myself to a team, a sport, a driver, whatever the case may be, I want to know that when I sit down, I am watching the best of the best. Don't shortchange me, because then you honestly assault my intelligence, and I don't like that. And I feel what NASCAR is doing right now is shortchanging my intelligence. Oh, this is just to guarantee sponsors. No, this is to ensure that we are not getting the best product possible. There is a really good possibility, really good, that every single race this year, 36 drivers would have qualified anyway. Good possibility. But there's also a good possibility that there will be many races this year that some of those top 36 would have not made the race. Possibility. Just saying. Just like there's a possibility that our top two teams would be an AFC representative and an NFC representative. There's also a good possibility it could be two NFC or two AFC teams that are the best teams that particular year. I think these major sports really need to kind of take a moment, do some research, do some surveys on their fans. Those that invest their time. You know, don't get your casual fans. Go to a football game. Go to a NASCAR race. You know, where they've already spent, I would say, at least $100, $150 just to get there, get through the gate, and get to their seat. To include, more than likely, a shirt or a hat or both supporting their team or driver, the price of their ticket, the time off that they had to take to get there, and the gas and everything else it cost them to get there. I guarantee you're already looking at $150. Go to the events. Any event that I've ever been to, there's always a hospitality area. There's always stuff going on, and people are always willing to fill out stuff, especially if you give out a free hat or a free keychain or a free something. Find out, survey, let find out what your fans want. No, I don't expect you to make a lot of changes. I'm not necessarily a big fan of changing the whole outlook of the sport. But I guarantee if you had multiple 10 questionnaire, 10 question surveys, have 3 or 4 different ones, so you have different questions, and you're getting answered by the multitude, and do this at many events. Don't just do one. I guarantee there's going to be at least 1, maybe 2 things on that sheet, on each of the surveys, that is going to stick out above all the rest of the questions. And those things are the things that you consider changing. Things that you really should try to maybe even slowly work into your current system and changing over or modifying whatever you have plus whatever the fans truly want. I applaud NASCAR because they do make a lot of changes, and it always kills me because NASCAR fans are all about wanting change. They are never happy with the way NASCAR is. Totally sold out this year. All those drivers that last year that said that they would never watch NASCAR again because of all this. Daytona finally sells out. I don't know when the last time Daytona sold out, but I don't remember hearing a time that Daytona sold out anytime recently. Could be wrong. But it's not something that I recall in the last 5 years seeing very often anyway. It kills me because as soon as NASCAR makes changes, fans are upset. The same fans that were complaining because they didn't like the current way things were being run. So NASCAR makes the modification, and then they're unhappy with the modification. Say, why did NASCAR keep changing things? We don't want them to change things, leave things the way they are, even though that's what you were complaining about before the change was made. Then you don't give an opportunity to see how the change benefited or if it didn't benefit the sport. Now, the NFL, they've not really made any changes, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I can't recall any changes as of recent that has benefited the NFL to really make it better. Most of the changes that has happened in the NFL as of late have hurt the sport. And is really, really irked the sport off, the fans of the sport anyway. NHL, the 3-on-3 overtime, that was a no-brainer. I bet you the people in the office, the headquarters, why didn't we think about this before? And the All-Star? Oh, God. NBA, they have not done anything to help or hurt the sport other than the fact that they just ain't done nothing. And this hack-a-shack and the flopping, and yeah, you say that you're punishing people. I told you last time I heard anybody get a flopping fine or a flopping foul or anything, and there is quite a bit of flopping. If they're fining players for flopping, then James Harden should be broke. He should be owing the NBA. I don't think that these sports find themselves doing what that really needs to be done and what the fans think that they find themselves doing what they think is going to make their pockets richer, or what they want to see how this game is being played or how this race is being run. And I think that the sports, all those in charge, the Roger Goodells and the Silvermans and so forth and so forth, I think that you really need to kind of take a step back and find out what the fans feel needs to be done to improve the sport. Jared Allen announced his retirement after 12 seasons. The NFL's Cowboy literally rode off in style on Thursday morning. Jared Allen, a 12-year veteran with 136 career sacks, announced his retirement on Twitter in an appropriate fashion. Atop a horse, presumably in Minnesota wilderness, he calls home. This retirement was kind of to be expected. I don't think anybody honestly thought that Jared Allen would be playing anymore. I honestly don't think if he wasn't landed on a team that was playoff potential, I don't think that he would have continued putting his body through it this season and finished the season. But because he found himself in an opportunity to play for a team that was Super Bowl bound, I think he suffered it out to try to get that ring, to put a trophy on the shelf, and I don't think it was a real big shock. Great career. I never was a Minnesota fan, but I love watching what he could do. I love how he terrorized quarterbacks. I love his speed off the ball. I just enjoyed watching Jared Allen play football, and I know players can't play forever. We got some players out there you wish that they just could hold on to their youth and they continue playing the sports and playing at a level. And we got our big one on the final lap at Daytona. And that is going to send a lot of people to the back of the field as Matt Kenseth's car, who was originally on the front row, will no longer be on the front row. Martin Truex's car found himself very well damaged. It looks like A.J. Allmendinger. Looks like Danica, she must have just spun out trying to avoid it because she was way back in the back. And she didn't look like she had any damage, but she did spin out. I'm assuming she lost control as she was trying to avoid and stay out of everybody's wreckage. But I got to play it back to see what happened, and I'll give you guys the 411 on that. But you just wish sometimes these athletes could go on forever. There's some of them you wish that you never would have ever wasted your time sitting there watching them play a game. But then you just have some athletes that you honestly, truly could have sat there and watched forever. And the wreck was caused by Jamie Mack coming up into Jimmy Johnson, which caused him to end up spinning and then just collecting quite a few participants here. But when I sit there and think about that, Danica just spun out trying to avoid. I don't know how she spun out because she had done avoided. Everybody was down on the apron, and still, yes, she managed to unless she slid somebody's oil or water or something. That just made no sense to me. But, sitting here and remembering the players I got to watch growing up, and players that, I could sit there and think of off the top of my head that I remember watching, not players that, were playing while I've been alive, or players that I've watched in highlight reels, or players that, played before my time, but I'm talking about players that I actually got to sit down and watch. Barry Sanders is one of those names that come, to mind. I being from Ohio and being everything Ohio, I did not care for anything Michigan at all. Not the Pistons, not the Lions. Sure the hell not the Michigan Wolverines. It was kind of one of those things that, because it was Michigan, I didn't like the team. But to be able to sit down and watch Barry Sanders play football, I mean, like, really sit down and watch him play football, to watch what he could accomplish with one of the worst offensive lines ever established, no real threat to a pass game, and how he would leave defenders shoeless. How he would do this and make the cuts at the drop of a dime and do it gracefully was remarkable to watch. Jerry Rice, another name. Just to watch him run the routes, watch his hands. There wasn't too many drop balls around Jerry Rice. Wayne Gretzky on the ice, Eric Lindros on the ice. I mean, a couple of those players that in the NHL that I could sit there, and it would never get old. I was never much of a hockey guy. Still really not much of a hockey guy. But I could sit there and watch them, watch their highlights. I know the obvious is Michael Jordan. As much as I wasn't even really into basketball at that point in time. I just know that I did not like the Chicago Bulls. I did not want to be part of that bandwagon that, and I know there's a lot of legitimate Chicago Bulls out there, but I was not jumping on board all that. I was not. I was not a Chicago Bulls player. And I can sit here and think about race car drivers that, you wish never would have had to retire. You could have sat there and watched forever. I could do this with, all sports. Baseball. Growing up, one of those players that I just love to watch because of his speed. Good on base percentage hitter. It could steal like nobody's business. Ricky Henderson. Oh my God. You knew if the ball was getting out in the outfield that there was not too many of them, he was not running down. And if he got on base, you knew he was going to steal something. And it was just amazing to watch. And Jared Allen is just another one of those players that it was amazing to watch. He was just ruining people's days. Kyle Busch ended up winning the second dual race for the qualifier races as the the field is about to be set for the Daytona 500, and of course we're going to talk about that here in a second. How about Dwight Howard and James Harden both maneuvered to have the other player traded? I thought that was very interesting and makes me wonder how, because regardless how much athletes say they don't pay attention to, their names in the news and stuff, I know that players still, kind of follow what's going on in the news. And even if not, everybody's friends, Harden's friends, Dwight Howard's friends, I know that they've had to go back and inform these players that, hey, look, is this true? Or are you guys both doing the same thing, just that and the other? The Houston Rockets are in a bad place. That's been apparent for some time as the team totally unraveled out of the gate after a run to the Western Conference Finals last year, spurred by the Clippers' collapse up 3-1 in the second round. They have lost their defensive identity. They just don't play defense. Don't expect James Harden or Dwight Howard to play defense, especially James Harden. Oh my God, I have spent watching more highlights of James Harden just standing there watching than I think that I have seen highlights of him actually doing anything positive. It's horrible. Lack of passion and focus, and generally have slid into a miasma of on-court failure. But the NBA.com reports that their problems have run deeper, including a period following their 2013 loss to the Trailblazers in the first round that saw their two marquee stars, James Harden and Dwight Howard, maneuvering to get each other traded. Harden and Dwight Howard have been an oil and water mixture since they came together for the 2012-13 season. It was only days after Damian Lillard's three-point dagger eliminated them in the first round of their playoff series together, when both were sending out messages and maneuvering to get the other one traded. If true, that's a huge problem and points to a bigger issue on Houston. They've lacked leadership in a glaring way all season. Your best player has to be set the tone in terms of professionalism and commitment to winning. Instead, if these two have been fuming against one another for 2 years, it shows how broken the Rockets culture has become. When it comes to the Houston Rockets, and it's really a shame because there's a lot of talented players on this Houston team. And you feel bad for Houston, but you don't. Because one of the players, you knew what you was getting. The other player was fool's gold. Dwight Howard, you knew the drama. You knew the neediness. You knew the lack of effort. You knew that you knew a lot of things before you went ahead and signed Dwight Howard. You were looking at it as, okay, maybe we are that team that can turn Dwight Howard around. We need a center. We need a big man presence. We're in the process of rebuild, putting a team together that we still win a championship. And this is what we feel we need. So for that part of it, I don't feel sorry for the Houston Rockets. Not one bit, not whatsoever. Fool's gold, though, that lies in with the fact that you didn't know what you were getting out of James Harden. You just saw what you've seen out of Oklahoma. You saw the sixth man of the year. You saw him come off the bench and be electrifying. You saw him be in a system that there is some kind of professionalism and some kind of integrity when it comes to the game of basketball. And so he had to play to that level. Houston, there's none of that. So watching him stand around not playing defense, watching him flop almost a handful of time a game easily, those things, yes, you didn't realize how bad it was. You know, at times that things weren't what they needed to be, but you didn't realize really how bad it was and how much you was over-investing into a player that it was not going to play defense for you, and only way he knew how to put a lot of points on the board was to flop a lot so that he could find himself at the free throw line. The fact that anybody ever chanted MVP and the fact that he was runner-up lets me know that there's a lot of ignorant people out there, Houston fans, and those that did the whole voting to make him runner-up. There's a lot of ignorance. If you cannot see how he played in order to accomplish what he accomplished, then you really have no business either A, being on the board who decided who was the MVP, or B, you don't deserve to be in any intelligent basketball conversation. This is not something new. This is something that has been a trend, and it's just gotten worse and worse every year since he's been at Houston. Like I said, I think it's a slap in the face to all those that were considered to be MVP that he ended up beating, and the fact that he came as close as he did to Stephon Curry. I think it's a slap into all their faces. I think it's also a slap into every prior MVP recipient or those that were nominated, because now you guys are all classified into the same field as James Harden, which honestly that's probably the biggest insult that could ever have been done to you. This explains so much to why these two have not gotten along. You got two guys that are not either not going to give you any defense or minimum defense. That Dwight Howard's not going to hardly hit free throws. James Harden is going to flop so he gets to the free throw line so he can get the points. Instead, honestly, it lets you know why the team is where it is. But second of all, it's really honestly it sucks. Because there are so many other players, and they knew what they were getting with Ty Lawson. I don't feel bad at all for their Ty Lawson situation, because they knew what they were getting into when they did that. But it's just heartening because you got so many players out there that, yes, they are giving their all. And this might be one of their last opportunities. Either to win a championship for a team that they really want to win a championship for, or a championship period, or any of these different scenarios. And you got two players, unfortunately, that are dictating. And because of them and their lack of being able to be professional and be able to play the ball, play on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, and be the leaders of the team, you're going to have people walking away from this that will never, ever feel what it's like to be a champion. And some players are going to be sent packing and having to relocate, as we've seen some happen today. I've been saying this for a hot minute now. Houston's not going to win a championship, not with the current roster they have. The Daytona 500 starting grid, as now we got everything locked into place, and we got the starting lineup set. And last night I made a point to say something about that I would reach out to Dale Jr. just to prove a point. That, you know, one, that I tried, but two, that people like Dale Jr., they're above it all. And I tweeted out after the show. Of course, I got no response. It was not something that I did not expect. But I did want to put out that I did keep up to my word. But starting front row, as of right now, Chase Elliott, Matt Kenseth, that is your front row. But the way that Kenseth's car looks, they will be going to a backup. Second row, you got Dale Jr. and Kyle Busch, as Kyle Busch won the second qualifying race, and of course Dale Jr. won the first one. Joey Logano and Jamie Mack will make up your third row. Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch will make up your fourth row. So far, I outside of maybe Chase Elliott, we got some very strong cars out there that I like. Fifth row, Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards. Sixth row, oh God, we got a Dillon boy. Oh man, we got Ty Dillon in sixth row. God, I feel sorry for everybody behind him. We might make it a handful of laps before he starts taking out part of the field. Denny Hamlin and Ty Dillon in the sixth row. Casey Kane and Kyle Larson in the seventh row. Greg Biffle and Danica Patrick round out your eighth row, 15th and 16th. Not too bad. Kind of where I see most of those people, except for Ty Dillon. Really would have been more satisfied with him back there, and I don't know, 40th maybe. Row 9, Chris Buescher, as he's making his debut, and Brian Vickers in the Tony Stewart 14 machine. 20th row, Ricky Stenhouse, statistically wrecked more than anybody else last year. Matt DiVincenzo, and I know 20th row, Austin Dillon, the 11th row, Austin Dillon and Michael Annett. 12th row goes to Trevor Bayne and Landon Castle. 13th row, way back there in 13th, Brad Keselowski and Jimmy Johnson. 14th row, Regan Smith and Martin Truex Jr. 15th row, David Rakin and A.J. Allmendinger. 16th row, Clint Boyer and Rick Mears. Or Casey Mears. Wow, there you go. What old school. 17th row, Bobby Labonte, Eric Amarello. 18th row, Brian Scott, Michael Waltrip. 19th row, Paul Menard, and Michael Waltrip's got to be glad that he had enough money to buy that charter spot, or to give up one of his charter spots so he could get into this race. But Michael Waltrip, as he was a couple laps down the last time I looked. 19th row, Paul Menard and Ryan Newman, and then wrapping out the 20th row, Michael McDowell and Robert Richardson Jr. Those who failed to qualify, Cole Litt, Reed Thorson, Josh Wise, and I can't see who David Gilligan, are those that are not going to be making a participation here in this year's Daytona 500. Don't forget, you can check me out at CJ Sports 1, the 110 Nation, at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr.C.J. Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check us out on our blog site over at www.the110nationsports.com, or you can also check our company site out, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Don't forget, you can check us out Monday through Friday, 9 a.m., the 110 Nation Morning Show. Yes, I was up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed this morning. Had a great time talking on the 110 Nation Morning Show. We got the 110 Nation Sports Show Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. We got Racing with Big Splat making its return next Thursday night right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, 9 p.m. You guys check that out. Also, we got Happy Hour Garage Saturday, 7 p.m. They got the Nemechek son and father duo for the Sunday night edition, and then they got a great show planned over the Dirt Talk Hour. Kicks off at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday night. Got a lot of things going on here. Loving it. I get to be part of some conversations today, some chats going back and forth. Love the opportunity to seeing all the great things going on with the staff here, and Miss Lee sending over some press releases that I got to get out after the show. Like I said last night, it's crazy to know the following that we have, and to know the listeners that we have, and to know how many lives that we are being read or heard by, and to know that we're doing this 6-man deep still, and it's crazy to me. I never would have imagined the way the way things work out, that 6 of us could be so on top of things, I guess, and be so many places at so many times, and it's just crazy to me. But with that being said, I can't get it twisted. With that being said, the growth is still coming. We're not slowing down any. We're not satisfied at being where we're at. Next goal is to, on a monthly basis, be effective in 500,000 people live on a monthly basis. That's the next goal. And in order to make that next goal, we got to add a few more pieces. We got to have a little bit more help behind the scene. We got to have another show or two committed to the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. We got to have a couple more experts or co-hosts to commit to being on the show every week. We got to have another couple writers that are dedicated doing a couple articles a week. We got to have these pieces in order to reach that next plateau. And we need those out there that are listening to the show. It don't matter if you catch us on Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, I-95 Sports Network. It don't matter how you catch this show. If you're out there and any of those opportunities sound like you, if you feel you can come on here and spend 5 days a week, 2 hours a night talking sports with me, or come on once or twice a week for 30 minutes at a time to talk about a specific sport, or you have a show and you want to have it syndicated over here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network, or if you're a writer and you're very passionate and maybe talking sports is not your thing, but you love to write and you love to show your passion through your writing. Maybe you like being on social media all day long, or have the opportunity to be on all day long, and want to help make our Facebook presence or our Twitter presence or our Instagram presence more present, I guess. Maybe marketing is your thing. Maybe you can help us land some sponsorships to help be able to find different ways to expand. Or maybe you would like to work with Miss Lee, who does the most phenomenal jobs, and be our PR and work with all these other PRs, all these teams, all these drivers, everything to constantly have a rotating carousel of athletes coming on the show. It's not like we're a company that popped up overnight, be gone tomorrow. We're creeping up on 5 years. We're also a LLC. We're not going anywhere. This is what 6 of us that do this. This is what we passionately want to do. We're going to continue doing what we got to do to make it where this is all we do. you're out there and any of that sounds like, hey, that sounds like something I could be a part of, that's something I can do, hit me up. MrCJSports@gmail.com. Trust me, I'll get back with you. I'm constantly, with everything going on, I can't even begin to tell you how many emails. I know I have 12,000 emails alone that I've not even opened. I can't even go into all the emails that I have opened. And it's the 12,000 are just junk emails and garbage that I want nothing to do with. Trust me, I skim every day to make sure that I get those that I need to get. Hit me up. I'll get back with you. Also, if you're interested in coming on the show, maybe you're an athlete, part of some kind of athletic organization, some kind of team. Maybe you got a show or site and you want to come on and talk about your show or site and promote it and talk sports. Or maybe you got some kind of charity or foundation, such as we got the Seek to Destroy Cancer coming up March 19th, and also the More Than Just Me, mtjm.org, the 5K More Than Just Miles run, April 16th down in Florida. You got stuff like that going on, raising money like the Cape Feared guys down here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, that we get on and help raise money for breast cancer awareness, or I'm sorry, for autism, and then they do the canned food drive for breast cancer awareness. You got anything going on, and you would like the opportunity? We've had the Paul Menard kick through guys on for Pittsburgh Poverty, Stops for Poverty. We had Doug Herbert come on and talk about brakes, trying to raise awareness about texting and driving. We love to have the opportunity to give you a platform, especially with the following that we have, to help get your foundation, help get your charity, whatever the case, out there, so people are aware of it, and it can help you raise whatever you're trying to raise. If it's for items, money, awareness, volunteers, whatever the case may be. All you gotta do is hit up Miss Lee, and that is Lee_110nation@yahoo.com. That is LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Oh, Magic Johnson. You've made headlines in the sporting world, but not for what most people, I would assume, believe. Nothing Laker related, nothing Dodger related. Actually has to do with Manny Pacquiao and son related. Magic Johnson's boycotting Manny Pacquiao fights over same-sex marriage comments. I can guarantee you, Magic Johnson, that Manny Pacquiao, and what few fights he even is going to have before he finally hangs it up, if he even has anymore, who knows, is not going to be upset if you don't spend the $49, $69, $99, whatever it is the cost for the pay-per-view. I am sure that is the last thing that Manny Pacquiao really cares about. Magic Johnson's boycotting Manny Pacquiao's fight, even if there's only one left. The former Laker and NBA legend on Wednesday tweeted out that he won't watch the Filipino boxers' fights anymore, commended Nike for terminating Pacquiao's contract following his anti-gay comments earlier this week. Magic Johnson went on to tweet, I applaud Nike for terminating Manny Pacquiao's contract after his derogatory statements that gay people are worse than animals. I'm sorry, I know it says that, but it's just weird to hear someone say it. I don't even care what it's about. I don't care if it's about homosexuality. I don't care if it's about any thought. It could be about race. It could be about age. It could be about sex. It could be, I don't really care. Just to hear someone say that a certain type of people are worse than animals. I know I shouldn't chuckle, and I'm sure I'm not the only one out there that is chuckling. It's, I don't know, the situation is not humorous, but come on. If you're outside and you're cutting up with your boys and someone says something that's worse than animals, you would kind of like, what? Like, that just, you just kind of got to chuckle because it's like, that's not a comparison that we're used to hearing. I guess that's more of it. But I know it's not funny because it's a sensitive topic, and, obviously, well, I'm not going to say obviously, because Manny's got his own opinions, and he has every right to have his own opinions. He's got every right to just speak his opinions, regardless if we like it or if a certain community likes it. I don't care if that you like whether or not that I feel that he has a right to say, because his religious belief and what the Bible says, okay, he has just as right to say what he wants as someone saying the opposite. I mean, I don't know. It just, I've heard a lot of things. I've been in the military. I have worked in some really shady parts of town. I have worked in a upper class town, and I've never heard that. Like, I think that's the part that gets me the most. Like, I have heard a lot, and having a 17-year-old daughter, I get to hear a lot of the things that are said now. So I'm kind of still in the loop. Magic Johnson went on to tweet, fans of all walks of life, including gay fans, supported a May PAC fight, putting $100 million in his pocket. I guess to them, their money is still. I guess to him, their money is still green. Anyone on a tweet saying I will be watching another one of Manny Pacquiao's fight. Pacquiao is ready for Senate in his homeland. Came under fire Tuesday after suggesting that approval of same-sex marriage would show man is worse than an animal. As a Christian, same-sex marriage is not allowed, Pacquiao said. Woman was made for a man was made for a woman. For me, it's common sense. Will we see any animals where male is to male and female is to female? That kind of makes you wonder, though. Like, I am one, and I'm really going to tiptoe around this subject because I know everybody knows what I believe in, and I grew up in a church and believe the Bible is the Bible, and that is the word, the law of the land. So obviously, I'm not going to say I believe it, it's right, but I have a lot of gay friends. I really don't care how you live your lifestyle. I'm not going to tiptoe around it. I believe homosexuality is not right. I also believe it's not my place to judge. I have gay friends. I have never not been friends with somebody because they're gay, because I feel that there's only one person to judge. And so if I'm judging, then I am not being right by God myself. So that I'm just as bad in my point of view. It's just much of a sin as it is to be homosexual. Now, I know a lot of people, they believe that it's not in the Bible that way. They believe that's to each his own. I don't care. But it does make you sit there and think when Pacquiao says, when it comes to, for those that believe that you're born that way, I'm sorry, I don't believe anybody's born that way. I believe you choose your preference. Just like I don't believe I was born to like thicker girls. I believe that's my preference. I believe that I was born, I believe everybody was born to, every male was born to be attracted to females, and every female is attracted to be to males. What you choose is different. Like, I believe I was born to be attracted to females. Now, what female I choose and what I choose to be attracted to, that's my decision. And I feel the same way with homosexuality. I don't think anybody was born to be a homosexual. They just choose to be a homosexual. That is what they feel they are attracted to. And for that other reason right there is why I don't judge and have gay friends, is because you might not find the same female to be attracted as I, so how am I going to judge otherwise when what sex you are attracted to? And so, with that being said, if we are born a certain way, which I believe, and that kind of proves it with the whole, you don't see two male animals going at it. You see a male and a female. Well, I take that back, 'cause I have seen some gay dogs get at it, so or try to get at it. I've had a couple of male dogs that have tried to hump each other on multiple occasions. I don't know if it's ever happened, but so I don't know. It's an interesting conversation, and it's always fun to kind of debate this stuff or talk about this stuff. And some people just, I don't know. I guess rightfully so, people do take it real serious, but I don't take the whole conversation that serious. I don't judge, so I have no reason to take it serious. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not trying to win over somebody. It's not like I'm trying to win over a female that is being a homosexual, and that's why I'm trying to convince why it's not right. I don't have a dog in the fight, and so I really don't care. And I know there's things out there I should care about. A lot more things out there I should care about. We were talking about race, and talking about how people have actually tried to call me racist. Those same people that were of other race had been in my house and opened them up with open arms, that they see my profile with me being the only white guy in a wedding that I was the best man of. But, I have a lot of people not know my nationality. And honestly, Caucasian is the last thing anybody's ready to call me. They call me Italian or Mexican or Hispanic or Puerto Rican or Arabian or anything else. Italian, I don't know that. Anything but Caucasian. And I'm assuming that I'm Caucasian, and I'm assuming whatever others in me, if it be part German, part Dutch, part R, whatever, I'm sure that's why I look the way I do. And people ask me all the time, what is my background? And, there's kind of 2 points. One, I just don't care. It's not, my race is really not that big of a deal to me, and I just really don't care. But the other part is, I don't look at race. And so why should I stress on my race and what is in me and what my background is? And like I said, I should know my heritage, and I should know I should know my nationality. But if I don't see other people's race, if I see everybody as a human and nothing more, then why should I even worry or care about my nationality or my heritage or my background? Well, I won't use heritage because heritage is important piece to know. It's important to know who. It's important to know your heritage and how, where you came from and stuff. But my race, I just really don't. I don't know. I just don't care. It's not that big of a deal to me. Like I don't see race in anybody else. I just see the person. So I've never really been a fan or really cared to even dig into my past or dig into what I am, because I don't see that in other people. And I don't know. That's just me. I know I'm a weird person. But, yeah, I'm sure that in the comments, and the reason that Magic Johnson is even involved in it is not just because he's being a good Samaritan or he's trying to help out, Okay, sit there. It's not like, he's being a good Samaritan or trying to be part of some movement or anything else. The only reason he's even involved with it is because his son is gay. If it not be for that, Fred Johnson probably wouldn't say two words and be involved with it by any reason at all. But because his son is gay, that's the only reason that Magic Johnson's even allowed himself to get into this whole Manny Pacquiao conversation. Only one Hall of Fame quarterback has more touchdown passes than Derek Carr in his first 2 seasons. Who would have thought that Derek Carr would have such a impressive first 2 years? Kind of flies underneath the radar. It's not a name that we put a lot of conversation into. The Raiders haven't had a winning record since 2002, which also their last playoff appearance, one that ended with a blowout loss in the Super Bowl to the Buccaneers. In the intervening 13 seasons, they have finished 500 twice, worse than that 11 other times. But the team appeared to have turned a corner in 2015. After a 4-3 start, they finished 7-9, and more importantly, second-year quarterback Derek Carr has shown every sign of being legit. His success has gotten lost in myriad other storylines, the Raiders possibly relocating Mark Davis's haircut, etc. But he's been one of the pleasant surprises of the draft class, which had Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, and Teddy Bridgewater were taken before him. How pleasant! Consider this: when looking at quarterbacks from 1980 to 2015, Carr has thrown more touchdowns in his first 2 seasons, 53, than Peyton Manning with 52, Russell Wilson with 52, Andrew Luck with 46, Cam Newton with 40, and everybody else not named Dan Marino, and everybody else not named Dan Marino, who had 68. The one person that has more touchdown passes. Carr also 6th in passing yards with 7,257 behind Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Peyton Manning, Blake Bortles, and Dan Marino. It's no coincidence Marino's name keeps coming up at least for the purpose of this post. The Raiders had a chance to draft him in 1983, but instead took offensive lineman Don Mosbar with the 26th overall pick. Mosbar had a fine career, including 3 Pro Bowl appearances, but Marino redefined the prolific pocket passer and is now in the Hall of Fame. So did the Raiders whiff on him. I've had this conversation with a few people, and more recently, about a week ago, and with the rumors of Marshawn Lynch possibly going to Oakland to finish out his career. Now, I know it's still under retirement at this point, but let me be the first to tell you, it would not be a surprise if Marshawn Lynch ends up playing for the Oakland Raiders. Even without that piece, though. Even without that piece. I was already putting the Oakland Raiders maybe one more, maybe 2, but one more piece on that offensive side of the ball. Defensively, I said 2 to 3. Well, actually I said 1 to 2. But now that Alton Smith and Charles Woodson are gone, now you're probably looking at a good at least 3 solid teams. From not just being a team above 500, but being a team that's in serious contention to win the AFC West. With the signing of Michael Crabtree and the drafting of Amari Cooper, you've given one of the brightest quarterbacks to come out of college football in a while two really, really good weapons. Two weapons that Derek Carr has no problem utilizing. Two weapons that helps open up the run game because of their threats. And then to see what that defense been able to do this season. Now you add you find yourself maybe one, maybe two younger free agent pieces. You draft a young offensive piece and you draft a good defensive piece. Retain what you can, replace what does not retain. You've got a really good possibility of taking the West. Denver, nobody knows the situation either. You got Brock Osweiler, who did a good job, but I don't know if it's going to be strong enough to take the AFC West. You got Peyton Manning that, okay, either he's going to retire, or if he stays, then how effective is he going to be? First 6 or 7 games of the season, he wasn't very effective. How he got benched after having a quarterback rating of 0.0. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but let's really think about that offensive display. 2 touchdowns they scored was off of turnovers. One was a turnover. The other one, they got the ball like the 3-yard line. That offense, 195 yards total. Carolina defense is good, but it wasn't that good. So there's not a lot of confidence when you talk about the Denver Broncos. Kansas City Chiefs. Now you got a decision to make. You were great without Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles comes back. What do you do? Can Alex Smith ever game manage you deep into the playoffs? Can Alex Smith game manage you to be the best team in the AFC West? Game managing only gets you so far. San Diego, we don't even know what to say about San Diego. I have San Diego being the best team in the West this year. They ended up being the worst by a long shot. Oakland's not too far off. A lot of people have decided that they're going to sleep. That they're going to sleep on the Oakland Raiders. And there's going to be some Bronco, Chief, and Charger fans that are going to be really upset because they're the first ones that are sleeping on this and don't realize what they're sleeping on. I don't think that the world, I guess, is quite ready for what the Oakland Raiders are about to do. Like, I just talk about scums of the world for a minute. Let's talk about Darren Sharper. Darren Sharper, talking about garbage. Darren Sharper will likely not see leniency for assaulting at least 9 women across 4 states. A federal judge on Thursday denied the former Saints defensive back a deal that would reduce his prison sentence for drugging and raping the women, the Times Picani reported. U.S. District Judge Jane Tris Malazzo said at a hearing that the 9-year sentence agreed to last year as part of a global plea deal across states did not follow the guidelines for severity of the charges, which generally warrant a 15 to 20-year sentence. Sharper pleaded guilty in May to drugging and raping 9 women between August 2013 and January of 2014 in Louisiana, California, Nevada, and Arizona. The agreement was contingent on judges in all 4 states signing off on it. A sentencing hearing is set for March 3rd. Sharper's attorney, Kyle Shinokas, asked Malazzo if his client would have more time to consider drawing the guilty plea before the hearing. Malazzo said she could hand down a harsher sentence if he does not. Sharper, who was with the Saints when they won Super Bowl in 2010, is a 5-time Pro Bowler who ended his 14-year career in 2010. What a time's hard there, Sharper. You get out of the NFL and you get no play. You played in the league for 14 years. I assume that you have a lot of money. And knowing most of the females out there, you spit the right amount of money, you ain't got to drug and rape them. They'll do it. Some of them might ask for a little bit more than you're willing to give, but everybody has their price. Male, female, it don't matter. I promise you, who I find might be the most hideous woman in the world, for the right amount of money, I'll do what you need me to do for the night. I'm just saying, everybody got their pricing. Oh, Mr.C.J. Sports, I can't believe you just said that. I can't believe you said that on the radio. You sit down there and think deep down into your soul and think about I'm not saying that they're ugly. I'm just saying to you, the most hideous female that you've ever seen. Well, what is to hideous to one person is beautiful to the other, and vice versa. So I am not trying to put anybody down or anything like that. I'm just in this whole scenario. You think about the most hideous, and I don't care if you're a female thinking about a male or a male thinking about a female. The worst one you could think of. Now, let's say you was offered $1 million for you to be their sex slave for the night. $5 million, $10 million. I guarantee there's not a single person by now who's not said, okay, I would do it. $10 million one night. Everybody has their price. Everybody. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, there might have been a lot of fake when it comes to WWE, but that was one thing he said true. Everybody has their price. Now, if you just ran out of money and you couldn't afford to, you're an ex-football player. I mean, I'm sure it can't be that tough to find the pie. I just can't imagine being an ex-NFL player. I can understand, you know, it being rough if you're homeless or whatever any scenario may play out that makes it impossible. But being an ex-NFL player, being a Super Bowl champion, being a 14-year vet, being worth millions of dollars, I guarantee all you do is go to a couple clubs and spend the right amount of money at the club. They don't have to spend no money on them, or pay them anything. Just spend enough money, take care of their tab. I guarantee you, I've worked in enough clubs. It don't take a lot. Not when you're out clubbing. I'm not saying guys are easy or girls are easy, but when alcohol and club and money is involved, and hey, look, let me buy you a drink, this, that, and the other, and that was that much. I don't know, football players kill me. There's no reason that we have so many domestic violence, so many rapes. I mean, we got a Peyton Manning and a sexual assault issue going on, another former Tennessee player and a kid sex ring or something, and this, and I don't know what they're actually putting in those Gatorade bottles. I'm starting to wonder if it's even really Gatorade. You know, I sit there and think all the time, what happens if I would have continued playing football? What happens, and we had this discussion when my mom came into town, when my son was born, almost 9.5 years ago. We was sitting at the table, we was playing cards. My mother, my father, my brother, myself. From those that are from the, we were sitting there and we was playing euchre. And those that are from the Midwest or Ohio specifically, you know what euchre is. And so we're sitting at the table and we're talking, and all this stuff's being brought up. The night before my son's being born, and got family in, we're all talking about the old days. And my mother breaks down crying, apologizing, knowing how great of an athlete I was, and knowing that it was her and my stepfather's fault that I got out of sports. Not the reason I never got back in, but knew that was the reason why I got out. Because I was told I couldn't play because they didn't want my mother to be out in the heat, which is just the Ohio heat, but in the heat while being pregnant. So I'm trying to hold two conversations at once. But she broke down crying, talking about, it's my fault she didn't get to become a professional football player. It's my fault this, my fault that. And all I could say is, no, that's not the case. I don't blame you, and who knows how my life would have turned out. Who knows if I wouldn't have got a big head of myself and did the stupid stuff, got into drugs, did things I wasn't supposed to do, made it into the NFL, and then, got wrapped up in stuff that I shouldn't have got wrapped up in, and not been the person that I should have been. And, seeing this story day after day after day, it makes me sit there and think to myself, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why, I don't. It doesn't bother me that I didn't ever be able to become professional and had to walk away from it, because who knows? Maybe that was the path that I was supposed to choose. Maybe it was God's way of keeping me out of what I shouldn't have been into. So when I see headlines like this, it just I shake my head, because that's all I can sit there and think about, honestly. So I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand. But anyway, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., make sure you guys tune in to the 110 Nation Morning Show. I'll be recapping you guys on the Daytona 500 with all the information we got going on there. Getting you guys recapped on the NBA games that are going on tonight, and, of course, the NCAA. Any finalized trades that went on that we need to talk about, just all that kind of stuff. So make sure you guys tune in. Don't forget, Monday through Friday, we got the 110 Nation Morning Show. Make sure you tune in, 9 a.m. We got the Monday through Friday, the 110 Nation Sports Show. At 9 p.m., we got Racing with Big Sweat making his return next Thursday night, the 25th. 9 p.m., we got Happy Hour Garage, 7 o'clock Sunday night. And then we got the Dirt Talk Hour at 9 p.m. Sunday night. So make sure you guys tune into that. You guys can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. You guys also follow or check me out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr.C.J. Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. And also check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Make sure that you guys tune in the morning. Be back at it, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Can't wait for it. You guys have a great night.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation. So be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
This is the sound of a University of Phoenix student earning a business degree. What you don't hear is the University of Phoenix student studying in between shifts, in his 2-bedroom apartment, while his children sleep. What you don't hear is this student defying the odds to succeed. Shouldn't that student be the candidate you take a longer look at? University of Phoenix. We rise. Learn more at phoenix.edu.